Since the application uses the ADF security feature to secure the components inside the application, we will need to disable the ADF security feature inside this application. To do that, click on the application, click View, click Application, Secure, click Configure ADF Security, then click on Remove ADF Security, click Next, Finish. Now we have disabled the ADF security prior to incorporating OES. Right. Now specify the application to use external ADFTab repository as the authentication source. To do this, go to Application, then click on ADF Security, ADF Authentication, click Next, click Form-Based Authentication, click Generate Default Pages, Next, Yes, Yes, Finish, click OK. Okay, now we have specified that this application it should use the external ADFTab repository for authentication. So, alright, let's get started with securing the ADF components using Oracle Entitlement Server. Firstly, we'll start by securing the Management Salary Overview tab to make sure that it can only be visible to the managers and normal employees. And for normal employees, it will get disabled. Okay, to get started, we'll first create, before we create the application and the artifacts needed to secure the application, just verify that you have an identity directory service profile configured inside your OES. To do this, just go to System Configuration tab, click on the IDS profile. If it's not there, just click Create and then specify the connection details to your ADFTab identity repository. For this tutorial, I already created mine. If you click on Profile, I already created mine and I'm pointing it to the Oracle Unified Directory that I've installed in my machine. Okay. Then before you start doing OES, just verify that you have set up an ADFTab authentication provider, which is used by your application for authentication. All right. To get started, we'll first define an application in OES, in Oracle Entitlement Server. Log into OES and click Authorization Management tab. Click Application, click Create. We'll create an application called ADF application. Click Save. All right, click that. Then click on your newly added application. Then we'll define the resource types for the application. Click New. For the resource type, to protect and manage the Management Salary Overview tab, we will use the table that we have defined during role modeling analysis exercise. So we will protect the Management Salary Overview tab it is a panel tab protection, and we will give access to the following actions: view and open. Okay, let's define the resource object type. It's panel tab. Click save. Click new to create the actions for this resource type. New, view, open. Click apply. Alright, close that. Then we will create the resources. For this instance, we'll create the management salary overview tab. I'll just copy that name and then click new resource. Make sure that the resource is panel tab protection. Then I'll just specify the display name as the same name as the name. Click save, close. Alright, the next step will be then to define entitlements. For this instance, we have grouped the entitlements. For the remainder of the exercise, we'll have a look at creating entitlement for normal employee, then creating entitlement for HR. But for this purpose, we'll create the entitlement for the manager because we want to protect the management salary overview tab. Okay, then let's get started with creating the entitlements. I'll copy that name, click new. I'll specify that as the name, can give the display name as the same name. Then specify the management salary overview, a resource type, panel tab protection, search. Then add selected, add targets. Then we'll give open and view access for this entitlement. Then click save. Alright, then we are done creating the entitlements. The next step will be then to define the application roles. The application roles will be tied to this entitlement. To define the application role, click new, you can specify it as the same name, save. Okay, our application role has been created. The next step now will be then to define the authorization policy. To define the authorization policy, okay, we will define the authorization policy as the management auth policy. Just copy that. Then click new. We'll specify the name of the authorization policy, the display name, and the authorization policy will specify the principals as the value of as the application manager. Add principal. Then we'll specify the targets, and then we'll select the entitlement that we created earlier, the management entitlements. Add selected. Then click save. Alright, we have defined the management authorization policy that will be involved by our sample application to get authorization calls, to get permissions on the defined resource, which is the management salary overview tab. Alright, the next step is then to define the raw mapping policies to the role mapping policies basically are used to determine what external subjects, users, or external roles are assigned to the application role. So to define the application role, we'll define the management application role for now. Okay, to define the, let's close that, click on the application. To define the role mapping policy, click create new. Specify that as the name of the authorization policy. Sorry, let's specify this as the name of the role mapping policy. Specify display name. Specify the display name. So in this role mapping policy, we'll map the application manager role to an external group in your ADFTab repository. So in my Oracle Unified Directory, I've defined the following groups. So in this instance, I will map the Enterprise Manager group to this application role. So select Enterprise Manager group, then add selected. So at runtime during authorization call, users that are assigned, the users that are a member of this Enterprise Manager group, they will be dynamically given access to the application manager role, which is tied to the grants. So the grants mapped to this role will be assigned to the members of the Enterprise Manager group. So let's click Save to create this role map. All right, we have defined our first. We have defined all the artifacts required to secure the management salary overview tab. The management salary overview tab of our application. The next step now is to make sure that your newly created application is mapped to the bind to the security module. To do that, double click on the security module, click on that, and add your new application. All right, so your application has been binded to the security module. So then we'll need to distribute the policy to the security module. Just drop down the application, double click on the application, click on policy distribution, drop down that, click on distribute tab, click refresh. All right, the policies have now been distributed to the our RMI security service module. Then verify again that the identity directory services profile is binded to your newly created application. So double click on the IDS profiles, click your IDS profile, then add your newly created application. Search for the application, then specify your newly created application. Alright, so your newly created application has been bound to your IDS profile. Alright, so we have set up all the required artifacts for securing the management salary overview tab. The next step now will be to modify the sample application so that it can be able to make authorization call to OES to secure its components. To do this, we'll need to create 3 classes inside our sample project. Okay, firstly, inside the project, drop down view controller, right click, we'll create a Java package. We'll give it the following name. Clicks OK. Let's delete this. Create a Java class. Give it a name, RMI Authorization Service Imp. Okay, click OK. Okay, then let's just specify details of this class. Alright, so what this class basically does is that it makes authorization call to OES for permission checks before granting access to the components in question. So just make sure that your project has the required files to run this Java class. To do that, go to Properties, Project Properties, Library Class Path, and click Add Jar Library. Look for the required jars, then specify the following jar files. These jar files are required to for making calls to the RMI security service module. In this instance, I already imported the jars to my project. Click OK. The next step is then we will then create another Java class. We'll then create another class, call it OES backend bin, or you can call it any name that you wish. Java class OES backend bin. Let's specify the definition of this class. So what this class basically does is that it makes calls to the RMI authorization service implement class, and then it invokes the access allowed method. What it does is then it specifies the location where the RMI SM is located. Then it specifies the port where the RMI is listening for outbound requests. You'll notice that this class uses another class called the retrieve user groups class. We will then create this class. What the retrieve user groups class does is that it basically queries your ALDEP repository for the users for all the groups that the user is a member of, and then it uses it for authorization call. So let's create the retrieve user groups class. User groups, right click, specify the name of the class. Let's specify the details of this class. For your instance, just make sure that your connection details match your match the details to your ALDEP repository. Okay, click Save. Okay. Next step is to register our OES backend bin Java class as a bin inside this project. To do that, drop down the webinf, then double click on faces.conf file, click Add, specify the name of the bin. We'll just keep it at backend bin, OES backend bin, OES backend bin, OES backend bin. locate the Java class that you want to convert to bin. So we'll just select this, then just verify, just click configuration file, click OK, save. Alright, so we just registered the OES backend bin class as a Java class. So click save. Alright, remember to change your application name to the name that you specified when creating OES. So we specified ADF application, so specified it in your code there, then click save. Click save. Alright. Then next step would be then be to modify our sample application to protect this management salary overview tab. To do that, just verify that the below code does exist inside your OES backend bin. To do that, let's click on the backend bin. Let's verify that the code exists. So what we're basically saying that we have two methods that protect the management salary overview tab. So during an authorization call, we pass the name of the resource that we created earlier in OES, and then we pass the view access to check if the logged in user has access permission, has view access to the management salary overview tab. So verify that this code exists inside your OES backend bin. Alright, then inside the sample application from your home.jsf page, just click on your salary overview tab in design mode. Then just right at the bottom right corner, locate the behavior property, and then select, drop down the disable button, then specify the following code: OES backend bin dot so you're saying if the user is not granted access, if the user does not have permission to open the management salary overview, then disable this button. So click OK. Alright, then what we will do next, save the application. Save all, save the application. Save the application. Then redeploy the application to for the changes to be effected. So we will redeploy the application and wait for it to be deployed to the server. Just busy verifying the details, just making sure that everything is defined correctly while the application is still being redeployed. App manager role. check for entitlements. Management salary overview tab, giving opening view. Authorization policy. Map to that entitlement. Right. Just verify that the policies have been distributed to the. Alright, the application is up. So in this instance, to verify that the we have configured as security inside the Management Salary Overview tab using OES, we will first log in as an account that is a normal that doesn't have privileges. Then we'll log in with an account that does have privileges to verify if the tab is being displayed based on the role of the logged in user. First, we'll log in with a normal account, so we should have the Management Salary Overview tab disabled. We should see it disabled. All right, so we've logged in with Daniel Favetti account, so we can see that the Management Salary Overview tab has been disabled, so which tells us that the application is basically making call to OES for permission checks to either disable or enable the tab. Let's log back in with an account that has privileges. We'll log in Arnold. Arnold should in this instance have access to the Management Salary Overview tab, which he actually does have. So in this instance, he's able to open the Management Salary Overview tab, and he can view details inside this tab. So this basically tells us that the application basically does authorization call to Oracle Entitlement Server to provide access based on the user's role membership. So in this instance, we have defined the security inside the tab using OES.